Hey, Fortyfied family. Welcome to episode 1 of the Fortyfied podcast, where we're determined to stay healthy, get fitter, and live life to the absolute fullest. My name is Aya Monahan. I'm your host. Welcome once again. I'm truly, really excited that you tuned in and spent this time with me. I really hope that you enjoy the content and you become a subscriber. In today's episode, I'll be talking about minding your health and fitness. Mind your business. I'm sure that's a term you've heard before. Someone must have said to you in the past, mind your business, or maybe you said to someone, mind your business, perhaps a nosy friend poking their nose into your affairs. Now, minding your health and fitness is a fundamental part of the journey to become healthier, to have better health, and the foundation for healthy habits. In order to mind your health, you need to take stock of where you are right now, this very minute. Minding your health is a fundamental step, a foundational step, which will pay dividends on the long run. So, here are some questions I'd like to ask you. Are you happy with where you are right now with your health? Can you describe yourself as fit or working towards fitness? How did you get to your current state? What actions or inactions and habits led you to where you are right now? Are there cultural influences that you need to deal with? Or are there external factors that cause you stress and send you on a spiral? Are these things you want to keep repeating, or are these actions you need to start reversing? Now, these are questions I had to put to myself, and I had to answer as honestly as I possibly could. When I asked myself these questions, I certainly wasn't happy with where I was with my health. I wasn't fit, and I wasn't on a journey to get fit. Rather, my actions and habits were taking me in the opposite direction. I took a look at myself and wondered, how did I get here? This may be a difficult question to answer, but if you're honest with yourself, you will retrace your steps. Now, for me, I grew up in a culture where being overweight was synonymous to being well off. I grew up seeing a lot of ladies wanting to chop up, as a representation of their changing status from single ladies to married women. And it was okay for guys to be overweight because you were accorded far more respect than a skinny or a lean individual. You were referred to as Oga, which means boss, or people called you chairman. But you're listening to me and you're thinking, I can relate with that culture. Or maybe you're thinking, what kind of culture is that? I'd like to hear from you. You can head over to the Fortyfied page on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, or on YouTube, and you can leave a comment. In fact, you can actually head to my website, www.befortyfied.com, and you can actually record an audio message. I'll be waiting to hear from you. Now, back to the topic of trying to retrace my steps. I realized that my relationship with food was shaped by my background. I was raised by my mom along with 5 other siblings, so we were 6 kids in the house. When I was much younger, my mom could only afford to provide us rice on a Sunday afternoon after church. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Sundays were my best days just because of rice. Now, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we mostly had the same thing for lunch. I wouldn't mention what it was, right? But Sunday, oh sweet Sunday. Now, as I grew older, around 10, 11, we had rice not only on Sunday, but on Wednesday as well. And this was so special because it meant I didn't have to wait for a whole week just to eat rice. I guess it was partly due to the fact that 2 of my older brothers were at university at the time, so which probably meant that the food went a longer way and it lasted us longer. Now, fast forward to when I got married, I was my own man. I was paying the bills. I was doing the groceries. I bought what I wanted to buy. And it turned out that my wife was a rice lover. And she still is, by the way. And she's also an amazing cook. She could cook white rice with some crazy hot pepper sauce, which I could not resist. Or she might shake it up a little and do some fried rice with some vegetables, or the very best of them all, jollof rice. I mean the Nigerian jollof rice. And I can hear my Ghanaian friends laughing right now. There's a long-standing historical dispute, but I won't go there today. I mean, I don't want to lose any followers, right? So we'll leave that topic today. But in all seriousness, those are some of the things I was able to identify because I asked myself a question and I made up my mind to answer very honestly. And you owe that to yourself. Yes, you owe that to yourself. I mean, you can pretend and lie to everybody else, but please be truthful to yourself. In summary, I've had to identify some of my own triggers, and I've been able to broadly identify my main challenges as not moving enough and eating certain foods way too much. A friend of mine once told me as a kid, he was always told he had to finish everything on his plate. Now he's a full-grown man with his own family, and somehow he finds that he's unable to stop himself when eating until his plate was empty, even though it was full. Now that's cultural. Now, one or two of you listening may actually identify with this scenario, maybe one I described before. Now, have you considered how your environment plays a part to your health? Are you somebody that works long hours and you get home and you just grab and eat everything in sight? Or perhaps your job is high paced or causes you a lot of stress and anxiety, and then you find yourself comfort eating rather than addressing the actual stressor or the triggers. After you've taken a very honest look at where you are right now and how you got there, you now need to consider if you can afford to continue down the same path, or if you need to start reversing or taking steps in the opposite direction. It's a common saying that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Now, I don't really think that that applies to a lot of people. I mean, certainly I didn't think that I was insane at the time. But here's what I discovered. I wasn't paying any attention to my health and fitness. So technically, I wasn't really hoping for a different result. So based on that assessment, I certify 1000% that I wasn't insane, and that may apply to you. However, if after taking the time to understand where I was and I decided I needed to move in a new direction, but I kept doing the same old things and going back in the old directions, eating more, moving less, then believe me, that will be insanity personified. Now, when it comes to movement, most of us could be described as accomplished scientists or physicists. Now, why in the world will I say that? Let me explain. Most of us are ardent followers of the Newton's first law of motion. In fact, we're passionate advocates of Newton's first law of motion, and we don't even know it. We don't realize. Let me elaborate. For those of you who either did not listen during physics class, I know a few of you listening right now, or perhaps you didn't study physics in school. Newton's first law of motion, okay, I'm going to paraphrase and focus on rest. It states the following. If a body is at rest, it will remain at rest until it's acted upon by a force. Now, I'll repeat it. If a body is at rest, it will remain at rest until it's acted upon by a force. So now you see why I say most of us are accomplished scientists or physicists. Now, most of us would only move if compelled to move. Would only move if it's an obligation to move or if our life depends on it. Now, I'll take you back to my situation. Before the pandemic, I work in London. I live in a place called Milton Keynes. I have to travel to work. Now, before the pandemic, I would go into the office 2 times a week, 3 times a week, depending on what I was working on. But on the days I went to the office, I would easily clock 12,000 steps. Now, on the days I did not go to the office, I'll barely clock 1,000 steps. Now, those steps that I was able to clock, those were based on compulsion. I had to go into the office. I had to move. I had to catch a train. I had to go in the underground. Those were no steps that I wanted to really take, but I had to take them. It may be that you have to go drop your kid at school, or go to do the groceries, or go into the market, or go do some shopping, or go to church, or go visit a friend. A lot of our movements aren't really planned. We're compelled to do it. We're obligated to do it. If you don't move, you're not going to get paid. So we have to move. So a lot of our movements are what I described, movements that, you know what, we're compelled. We have to move. So now for those of you who think that you had gotten rid of physics for life, I'm here to tell you, you need physics in your life. So what I'm going to go back to the Newton's first law, and I'm going to state it again. If a body is at rest, it will remain at rest until it's acted upon by a force. So what force are you waiting for in order to start the process of minding your health and fitness? Are you waiting for your annual checkup or a doctor's report before you start minding your health? Are you waiting until you have grandkids and realize you're not able to keep up with them? Is that what you're waiting for? Are you waiting until you're unable to do the things you love or unable to go on adventures because you're not minding your health and fitness? I'd like to implore you, please do not wait. You need to start minding your fitness today. Being fortified is all about taking the small steps. I have a poster right behind me on this wall of my home gym, which is also my studio, which is where I'm doing recording right now. But that poster says, the words in that poster says, little things make big days. Being fortified is all about building your health like a castle, one brick at a time. If you have a brick that doesn't fit, remove it and replace it with the right size brick, and keep lining the bricks until you build a wall and another wall and another wall. Being fortified is all about having a learning mindset. My dad was a professor and my mom was a teacher, but I can assure you I'm neither, and I'm not trying to teach you. All I'm doing is simply sharing my perspective as I embark on the same life-changing journey. So, in summary, I would like you to ask yourself the same questions from earlier, and please be honest with yourself. Are you happy with where you are right now with your health? Take a moment to answer that question. Pause the podcast if you have to. Hit pause. Can you describe yourself as fit? And if you're not, can you say confidently that you're taking steps towards a healthier and a fitter lifestyle? How did you get to your current state? What actions or inactions and habits led you to where you are right now? Are there cultural influences that you need to deal with and you need to be aware of? Are there external factors that cause stress and send you on a spiral? Are these things you want to keep repeating, or are these actions you need to start reversing? Yeah, I hope they are ones you want to reverse. I sincerely hope that this adds some value to you and helps you on your journey. I hope you're able to take some of the nuggets and apply to your life as you start to mind your own health and fitness. I would love to hear from you. So please head over to my website, www.befortyfied.com, and you can record a message from me right from my website. You don't have to install any apps or leave your email or whatever. Just hit record. I'd love to hear from you. And perhaps your voice could be featured on an upcoming episode of the podcast. Wouldn't that be interesting? Also, please like and follow Be45 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube. Lastly, if you found this helpful, I would appreciate if you leave a review on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, or whatever platform you get your podcast. This will help the show and help grow the audience and hopefully help more people on the journey. And this applies to YouTube as well. Now, until the next episode, stay healthy, get fitter, live life to the absolute fullest, and my friends, be fortified.